Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alt Kings podcast. I'm your host, Tate, with my co-host, Corbin, and today we have the #1 NFT marketplace on Algorand, Rand Gallery, with their CEO and founder, Ross. How are you doing today?
No, I'm very good. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here today.
Amazing. It's a true honor to host you. We've heard many great things about your marketplace, and there's many great questions out there for us to ask. And so what I'd like to start off with, why Algorand?
Yeah, it's a very good question, right? So I think personally, the tech speaks for itself, right? There's so many great things about Algorand's tech that are just caked into the layer one that allow it to flourish and fulfill blockchain's mission around changing the world, right? I mean, you guys operate on sort of other L1 challengers. It's no secret that Ethereum has a lot of limitations technically, which will allow it to sort of flourish beyond the small bubble that we're currently operating in. So we're very excited about the changes that Web3 can make in the real world. And it feels like, to me, Algorand can really play a huge part in solving some of these real world use cases. And this is not just hearsay for the future, it's happening right now. So if you look at, there's a lot of sort of government initiatives happening right now that are powered by Algorand. There's a significant amount of momentum happening, and we're really excited for that.
Makes sense. Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I like to compare like Hedera and Algorand and some of these other ISO tokens as to like the tokens that will really be the ones to last with NFTs and just overall crypto, because how sustainable they are and the partnerships that they are building with being layer one foundations. It's just overall they're all really just building a lot of structure that's needed to sustain into the future.
Yeah, we think a lot about where NFTs are now and where the future of NFTs are going, right? So we firmly believe that NFTs, essentially everyone at some point will own an NFT, right? With various different use cases. So if you have that assumption, then everyone's introduction to blockchain, or a huge swathe of folks' introduction to blockchain, could be via NFTs. So you need to make sure that the experience is what you would expect as someone who's coming into to Web3 for the first time. And in that respect, you need to make sure that your technology essentially operates as it should do in the background, where people barely recognize they're interacting on a blockchain. That's when you know you're winning. But also you've got to think about, okay, well, we are Rand Gallery. If your introduction to blockchain is Algorand, what's the wallet that people are going to be using as well? And what's that experience like? And I'm obviously biased, but we've got Pera Wallet, which for me is arguably the best wallet around in terms of the way it functions, UX, UI. It just feels great to use. And then once you've got your wallet, once you've loaded up some algo, then you go buy an NFT. And then our job there is to make that experience very seamless as well.
Web3 Hospitality.
We think about it a lot. We think about that a lot. Like, how do we onboard the next generation? And we're lucky enough to have partners like Pera, who we're sort of very closely integrated with, that also think the same way.
Nice. Well, that's good.
Sure. Yeah, partnerships are very important, for sure. Yeah. How long has Algorand actually had like native NFT integration in the chain?
Native NFT integration. So really it started in 2021. And then that sort of progressed to where we are now. So it's still nascent. We're still sort of a year and a half in, realistically.
Fairly new still, yeah.
Yeah. But NFTs as a whole is, it's still something quite new. And I still feel like we're very much in V1, right? So I'm very excited about where V1 is going. So what's the future of V1 specifically, which is really focused around digital art. And that's what our main focus has been. And we're just so grateful for all the amazing artists that are on the platform, but also what's coming after that. We're seeing right now a big focus for 2023 is things like gaming and music, right? And we're starting to see that volume picking up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's good to be on a tokens. It's good to be on a network where you don't have to really worry about transactions and transaction volumes and stuff of that nature. It all really just flows seamlessly.
I mean, that's the point. It just works, right? It just works. Algorand, again, if for people who are used to perhaps interacting on other chains, it's that first interaction with Algorand that makes it so compelling. And it's really, really hard, for me personally, to now go back to ETH after having tasted the promised land.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Tasting the future.
I feel the same way with Hedera. And I feel as if Hedera and Algorand really pair hand in hand together, just with the way that, obviously they're two completely different networks, two completely different chains. We have a hash graph, and then we have the Algorand's chain. And the way that they're designed and developed is completely different as well, but it seems as if they work hand in hand with each other, and they operate in the same ways, in a sense. Just with sustainability, very fast transactions, you're able to send tens of thousands of transactions in seconds, more or less. And it just...
It's dirt cheap to send them.
Exactly, yeah. And it all just seems like it all fits right, more or less.
It's solving that blockchain trilemma, right?
Yeah.
But as you said, for a consumer, I have problems paying my percentage charge on Visa, right? But going to ETH and having to spend dozens, $12, $20, $30, $50, $200 on a gas fee or transaction fee, that's fairly bonkers if you're trying to attract this wave of newcomers. And that's what we think about. And also, for us, we're obviously building on Algorand. So what are Algorand's credentials? What's Algorand's right to win? And it has a very solid team. I think Silvio doesn't really need an introduction. One of the OGs of cryptography, and has been since forever. And then Algorand obviously being built as this amazingly green blockchain, sustainable, environmentally conscious. Like, there's so much that we can do with that as an NFT marketplace that we're very excited about.
Nice.
So you
can go.
Okay. So from my general experience with using NFT marketplaces, there's two sort of mindsets that I think about when I'm using them of how they're actually of like how the content is actually curated, so to speak. So there's some marketplaces, like for instance LooksRare on ETH, that say that, like, hey, we're fully about decentralization, post whatever you want, which has its ups and it definitely has its downs. And then there's other marketplaces, like for instance OpenSea or Zeus, that are like, hey, we're going to curate this list, we're going to vet the creators, we're going to make sure that, like, we're not like specifically listing any rugs or anything like that. What do you guys take as an approach in that aspect for your guys' marketplace?
Really good question. So it's something that we have spent a long time thinking about. So we do take the approach where you have to apply. You can't just list. So every single collection that is on Rand has been vetted. Now, what does that mean? We're not necessarily looking for, is the art good or not? Because as we know, art is very subjective, whether that's in Web 2, Web 3, in the real world, right? What you like is different to what I'm going to like. What we're more interested in is 4 different areas. We're looking at, is this potentially a security? And then we have a list of criteria around that. Is this not safe for work? Because right now we don't have a way to sort of filter out things that might be a little bit more indecent. Is this likely to be a rug or a scam? Based on the knowledge that we have, obviously things happen, but we've got a way, having done this for a little while, we've got a way to spot different things that we might think are a little bit strange. And then the final one, does this infringe on any copyright or IP, right? And if you look at our onboarding questionnaire, shall we say, it is very comprehensive, but if you fill it out correctly, it means that we can look at your application and essentially turn it around, ideally within 24 hours, right? That's something that we try and do at least within 48, but really we try and do it within 24 so that you can get onto the platform as quickly as possible if you answer the questions diligently. Obviously for a collector, though, you always do your own research, but those are the kind of things that we've looked at and we've reviewed with our legal counsel.
Do you look to KYC creators that look to list on Rand Gallery?
At this stage, no. No. It's something that we've discussed. We do ask sort of basic questions. For example, where are you from? But at this stage, we don't KYC.
Sure. Makes it more decentralized at that point. And what do you look for necessarily when you're looking at securities? Like what's more or less a red flag to you and Rand Gallery whenever you're looking at NFT projects to onboard the gallery and the marketplace as a potential security?
Yeah, look, so obviously we're not lawyers, and we can't give anyone legal advice, right? So there's just a few things that are obvious red flags. So if your token is a security token versus a utility token, if there's any sort of promise of returns for doing nothing, these are obvious red flags, but it's very nuanced, right? And so in certain cases, we will go back to the creator and simply just ask them, have you received a legal opinion on this project? And in some cases, they said yes, right? We have got a legal opinion. Here it is, and then that obviously gives us a lot of confidence that these guys are doing the right thing. But it is very nuanced.
Definitely. Makes sense.
And we do take compliance and regulation very seriously.
Of course.
Awesome.
It's a must, I think, I mean, with a lot of countries not completely regulatory compliance yet with their with just native cryptos, it's really hard to take the right steps with more or less like the United States and some other countries that are around the United States as well. Like nothing's really set in stone yet, therefore it's really hard to navigate throughout this as of now. But I know there are countries around the world that are very compliant with crypto at the moment, which that does help if you are based out of those. But say if you aren't, it's still a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah. And obviously, given our market position, we also want to try and set the standards for others to follow. There's certain projects, within the NFT space, we hold a dominant position. But actually there's certain projects that we look towards in perhaps other verticals that we also think, okay, these guys are setting the gold standard. It's our role to try and set the gold standard for NFTs. So, for example, our naming service, NFT, just a wonderful service to use. And for us, they're really pushing the envelope in what's possible. You got Pera with Pera's wallet. You've got ALGOFi on the DeFi side of things, and we're just really excited about what these guys are doing and trying to sort of match that caliber.
So there's a lot of great tools being developed on Algorand at the moment, it seems.
There is a lot going on. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Yeah. We've been in the Algorand ecosystem for a few years now, and it's just really, really exciting to see how far along Algorand's come in the last couple of years. And just really impressive. The Algorand itself in terms of the sort of staff at Algorand Inc. and Algorand Foundation. It's a very serious chain with big ambitions. And then if you look at the caliber of the folks building on Algorand itself, it's also, for me, very, very impressive. And it's really nice to surround yourself with folks like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Speaking of surrounding yourself with folks, how big is your team?
Right now, we are 7 full-time.
Okay.
That's great.
Nice, small, tight-knit team.
Yeah. We continue to do a lot with a little, very cautious on burn, very cautious on the fact that we are in the middle of a bear market, and it's very hard to understand where that's going to go in 2023, whether that's the general macro environment, the general tech Web2 environment, but also Web3. So we've sort of got our eyes on all three, and approaching 2023 with caution at this stage. Having said that, there is a lot going on right now that we're really, really excited about. The next, or Q1 is going to be huge for us, and I can share some of the things that we're planning for Q1, and then there's things that were in Q2 which are also exciting.
Let's dive into it. What are some exciting things that Rand Gallery will be providing in 2023?
So the big news is that we are undergoing a fairly significant revamp and refresh. Essentially, Rand there will be a rebrand, and then there will be an overhaul of the platforms, with a view to launch that overhaul at NFT NYC in April. So that's something the team is working on in the background. We're essentially going to bring all of the platforms that we have, because right now, for example, we've got Rand Gallery, which is a secondary marketplace, and then we've got Instant Shuffle, the 2 separate sites. We're bringing those together. And there's a few other things that we've got in the pipeline just to make it a much more seamless, tied-in system. We're also planning to bring a lot more data analytics into the platform. I'm just going to turn off my... where is it?
The bubbles.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't know if it was me or not.
So yeah, that's happening. Agash, my co-founder, and me will both be at NFT NYC. We'll be speaking on stage. We're also planning a fairly significant brand activation there, with a few key players. There's a little bit more to come on that, but we've roped in some really nice partners for that to make a big splash in New York to essentially relaunch Rand Gallery. And as part of that, there's a few things in the works right now, a few big partnerships that we're working on. Some of them have already been agreed; they just haven't been announced, but they will be announced sort of very soon.
Exciting.
Okay. Very exciting.
I'm assuming you have competition out there on Algorand. There might be 1 or 2 or 3 other NFT marketplaces out there as well. How are you looking to really just beat out the competition and bring more exposure to Rand Gallery compared to these other marketplaces? Because, obviously, at the end of the day, they're not necessarily just competition. They are part of the ecosystem, so you want to grow with them. But you also want to make sure that you stay that number 1 NFT marketplace, as you proclaim to be.
Yeah, right now we have about 70% of the market share. It's something we've been focusing on.
Really good.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Thank you. With something we've been focusing on quite a lot in H2 last year. So Q3, Q4 was a big push towards increasing our market share. And really it was just around small tweaks, making sure that we have the right communication with our community on Twitter and Discord, etc. Having the right relationship with our creators. So again, that goes to like the onboarding process and what's our internal operations like. For example, we just put Intercom on our website. Again, that's just like, we're here. You can come talk to us. If you're a collector, if you're a creator, a partner, potentially, like, we're here. And then making some fairly big sort of tech tech integrations, mostly on the back end. So fully integrating NFT, which is the naming service, fully integrating Pera, and there's a bit more to come on that front. But really, yes, there are, let's say, 10 different marketplaces on Algorand. And yes, we have the bulk of the market share, so the bulk of the volume. Really, we are looking towards other marketplaces for support in how do we grow, right? So how are we going to grow the ecosystem together? Because otherwise, we're sort of fighting amongst each other when the real opportunity and the real competition is not on Algorand. The real opportunity and the real competition is elsewhere. So it's like, well, what are other blockchains doing? Why would a big brand pick a Polygon versus Algorand, right? And really, we need a unified front there across the entire ecosystem. So that's not just the marketplaces, it's the wallets, it's the naming services, it's the Algorand Foundation itself. We need a unified front in order to bring more attention to the ecosystem where we think we can win. And so I'm much more interested in doing that than going head to head with other marketplaces. And in that respect, I think we've got a very friendly relationship with the so-called competition internally, because we realize that actually it's better for us to work together at this stage.
Makes sense. That's good. As long as you look to unite rather than to fight, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How else are you going to grow, right?
Yeah.
As an ecosystem, as a whole.
Does Rand Gallery? Go ahead.
They say, we're not sat there on. I'm not one for sort of sitting there on Twitter and beefing with everyone left, right, and center. It's just not within my nature. But really, the folks who are sort of most vocal on someone like Twitter are not necessarily the ones who are going to win long term. We're much more focused on, okay, how do we outbuild and outgrow, right? That's more interesting to me.
Sure. Yeah.
So what exactly are you looking to build? Are you looking to implementing more tools into the gallery, or what in particular?
Yeah, there's a roadmap, right? So the initial roadmap is just the actual overhaul. So everything you can see now is going to look and feel very different. And then we're going to start to add on a few more features, right? So, for example, we don't have a peer-to-peer swapping tool. We discontinued it. We're bringing that back. We're going to put it under the umbrella. We're going to improve our minting tool. We're going to improve our shuffling, sort of our primary sales tool. All of that's going to improve. We're going to add a lot more data in there. We're going to give a lot more admin controls to the creators themselves. So there is a lot happening. And then we're going to start to look at, okay, what else would you need as a collector or a creator on any NFT platform? So bring a lot more data into the fold. And then perhaps even like working with some of these DeFi projects to bring the best of DeFi to NFTs, which feels like a natural progression if you look at where crypto has gone and the emergence of DeFi and what that's done for crypto. There are similar opportunities to do that with NFTs. We're also quite adept at DAOs in general, and there's an opportunity to bring a lot of DAO-esque features to an NFT marketplace. So this is all sort of into the future, right? So immediate roadmap is the refresh, and then we can start to build. So one of the things we'll be launching very soon is a tool called Canny, which you may or may not have heard of, but essentially it allows for the community to suggest features that they want. So on our Discord right now, we do have a suggestions channel, but we want to make this a bit more, professional. So anyone can start to suggest features, and then those can be discussed and upvoted, and that will help inform us on what to build next. So essentially, everyone should be taking feedback. This allows us to do that in quite a nice, seamless way. So we're pretty excited about that. We have set it up. We just haven't quite launched it yet.
Nice. Yeah. Consumer feedback is always appreciated. It definitely helps sway, like more or less route your route your project and your concept in the right direction when you're getting feedback from others rather than just taking in your own. But
especially when you're smaller like this,
100%.
You want to be able to route your resources and your time, to what the community wants, because they're the ones using it at the end of the day, right?
It's very easy to get distracted with the day-to-day of running a business and forget that the community is the most important aspect. And so the more we can be out there talking to the community, whether that's via tools like Intercom or Canny, whether that's on Twitter Spaces or just on Twitter in general, right? Just interacting with everything that's going on, or if someone wants to talk to me directly, my Calendly is on my Twitter profile, so anyone at any time can just book a meeting with me. And actually, those are the best conversations I have. Is when a creator reaches out and just wants a 30-minute chat. All day, I'll happily do that.
That's great. Now, does Brand Gallery have their own NFT Rarity? Like, were you able to see the different rarities for NFTs?
So we are improving that process. Right now, it is a manual process, but it's something that we're working on in the background to make it much better.
Nice.
So yes, you can see rarity, but we realize there are some limitations there.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed with some other chains and their marketplaces is that they have their own NFTs. And those NFTs are more or less like exclusive passes for different sorts of tools and benefits for that specific marketplace. Is that something that Brand Gallery might consider down the line, is having their own set of exclusive NFTs that is exclusive for specific things?
Yeah, so we've dabbled and dabbled, shall we say. So we do have a mascot called Randy, and we have given away those NFTs. And for now, it really just a bit of fun, right? So there is no utility to the NFTs. There is technically no value to the NFTs. I don't know if any have ever sold, but it was just a bit of fun. And it's something that you can easily do on Algorand because, minting a collection on Algorand doesn't really cost the same amount as minting a collection on say, Ethereum, right? So we can play around with giving away these NFTs. What I will say is, without giving too much away, there is a generative NFT collection in the works that we think the community is really going to enjoy.
Exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's funny that we talk so much, not so much about Ethereum or anything, but like today I was just trying to send $10 worth of ETH just to receive one NFT, and it costed me $7 in gas fees. So the overall transaction was $17, and it just made no sense. And like, it really blindsides me that so many people get used to these transactions and stuff, and they have to really just figure out the right time to send transactions through ETH and timing like the way and stuff. And I see no reason in that. I see more value, and this is just me, and hopefully more people start to feel the same way as I do. But I see more value whenever you're able to send transactions at whatever time you want for nothing, like when you don't even have to necessarily have a penny in your account, and you can send that penny anywhere through Algorand or Hedera or XRP, like, because they're able to take these microtransactions off of that penny, and you're still able to send the penny, more or less. And it's just like, it's the little things like that.
There's two sides of the coin there. So there's the microtransactions, which, yes, 100%, but also very large transactions. Like, it's so easy. If you want to send $200,000 worth of Algo or $200,000 worth of USDC, it's so easy to do these days with blockchain. And you guys are in America, your banking system is, I feel like at least in the UK, we have open banking, and actually it works pretty well. But interacting with the US is a completely different beast. You have got a lot better recently, but it's chaos. It's crazy, the system, and it's just so many. It's a technology. It's just Frankenstein that's been built over many years, and blockchain really is just a seamless, beautiful process that just makes it effortless and easy peer to peer.
the payment remittances and stuff for the US is not exactly a swift process. Sorry,
I enjoyed the joke.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. What are some of the biggest challenges that Rand Gallery as a whole and you personally have faced in developing this out and trying to figure out the little nuances and stuff with Algo and all that good stuff?
I mean, I would defer that question to my co-founder. One of the things I will say is this is a good and a challenging aspect of Algorand is that you have to opt into an asset in order to receive it, right? So, unlike in Ethereum, where you can just get airdropped any old rubbish, whether you like it or not, that doesn't happen on Algorand. So your wallet's very clean, right? Wallet's very clean,
yes.
But in the use case of NFTs, so say I buy an NFT and I don't opt into the token that may be airdropped every week, every day, I might miss out on some of those rewards, right? So how do we communicate with someone that actually this NFT might have a token attached to it, and that they have to opt into? And I literally just did that. I bought a couple of NFTs last week, and then I only opted into the assets today. So I've sort of missed a week of airdrops, right? Once you've opted in, then it's easy because it's like, well, I've said yes to accepting this token. Now, that's a challenge for us. And how can we overcome that challenge? So one of the things is you can opt into the ASA from Rand Gallery directly from the NFT that you own. But can we go one step further? And actually, when you buy the NFT, auto accepts the asset. So these are sort of things that we consider and we look at.
Nice. Corbin, would you say that that'd be more or less comparable to like associating tokens through Hedera? Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you have to do that with everything. Yeah. Tokens, NFTs. I think Algo operates similarly. It also might be worthwhile to have maybe like a tab or somewhere in Rand Gallery where people might be able to actually check. Maybe have it so that way there's like an algorithm or something that checks the NFTs that they have and then also checks to see what tokens they have associated and then cross-references that to make sure that all of them are enabled. And if not, maybe tell them, hey, you might want to enable this so that way you get X token. Might be something worthwhile to do.
Yeah, we are thinking about communication, right, as well. So how do we better communicate with the ecosystem? And, again, so I feel like I'm promoting NF domains here, but NFT, the naming service, is just a wonderful product insofar as you've got the naming service, then you can attach your wallet to it. So I've got Ross.algo, attaches my NFT to it, but it also attaches my Discord name, attaches my Twitter name, attaches my wallet. So everybody can find out whatever they need from my domain, right? And that means that they can communicate with me potentially. And so we're looking at ways to better utilize that service.
Okay.
Nice. My last question for you, Ross, is do you plan on merging Rand Gallery with any other chains?
At this stage, no, we're very, very focused on Algorand itself. We think Algorand has a lot of potential. We obviously hold a pretty decent position in the marketplace, and we don't take that lightly. It's our role and responsibility to continue innovating on the platform that we call home. But also we think there's a huge opportunity for us to, we've all got our role to play in growing the ecosystem. All the sort of folks building on Algorand, Algorand Foundation, Algorand Inc., these guys are focused on growing the ecosystem, but we've all got a role to play. So I'm much more interested in, okay, how do we grow the ecosystem from Web 2 at this stage versus trying to compete with, your Magic Eden or your OpenSea, which frankly have significantly larger resources than we do. Having said that, I do think there's an opportunity for us to go cross-chain and start to attract creators and collectors from other chains once they see how great Algorand is in terms of the platform itself and the builders building on Algorand, but also the depth of the creators themselves. We've got thousands of creators doing really wonderful stuff. And there's nuances in the technology. So, for example, we've got something called ARC19, which is a standard where your NFT can morph over time and you can change it, right? And some creators are doing really wonderful things with that technology, changing the NFTs over time, or like feeding the NFTs tokens and the NFT morphs into something else, or based on like some sort of oracle where, the price for algo changes, therefore your NFT is changing color. And there's so much you can do with that. And if you look at the application into the real world, I think, you guys have got it. So there's something called like Movember, right? So Movember, which is, in November, and it's for men, and they grow their mustaches. Imagine if you had like a Movember NFT and you could feed it like a Tash token. And as you were growing your real life mustache, which we're all sporting, your NFT would grow as well. These are fun applications that, if Movember's listening, hit me up. But these are fun applications that we can use with the technology that we have.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the future is bright.
Very bright. Very
sure.
bright for Rand Gallery, that's for sure.
We're just getting started. We're really just getting started. So we're really bullish on the future of Rand and also NFTs in general, but also Algorand.
Sure.
Amazing. Well, Ross, actually, I have to second myself. I had one last question for you. My very, very last question now is name 3 of your favorite Algorand NFT projects.
Just say that again. You dipped out there.
Yeah, you rugged in the beginning.
So sorry. If you don't mind, just naming 3 of your favorite Algorand NFT projects.
What I will do, I'll defer that question, right? So the key for us is to remain impartial, right? So
that's great.
And we take that responsibility very seriously. All creators are equal in our eyes, and we want to treat them all equally, right? So I will happily defer that question. What I will say is that there are plenty of really, really great creators. So I would encourage folks to come and check them out and see for yourself what you like and don't like.
That's a great answer. It was a trick question. You got me. Well, thank you, Ross, for coming on the podcast. If there's anything else you'd like to say to end things off, I truly appreciate your time and thank you once again.
The last thing I'll say is obviously my Twitter is @RossMurrayJones. If you do want to speak to me for whatever reason and you work for Movember potentially, all jokes aside, if you do want to speak to me, my Calendly is on my Twitter. So I am open to having a discussion with anyone who's interested to learn more about Algorand or Algorand NFTs.
Amazing. Well,
spectacular.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, this has been the Alt Kings podcast, and we will see you all next episode. Peace. Thanks, Ross.